Hello. Yes, Lowink is tomorrow. The only reason why I'm doing this. It's almost that time. Drown on my own snot. Hello, Puppy. I don't think that's a thing. Graders? I've never heard of that. Oh, but there is one in Indianapolis. Wait, is that in Broderick? I might have been there, but it's not significant enough for me to remember. Been a hot minute since I've had ice cream. Alright, show you guys something. This is every Popcast note script I've ever done. All of this. I don't know how to emphasize. Yes, this is episode 1 through 116, and I got 3 more papers to add to it tonight. I think after this weekend, I'm gonna switch from doing the notes section to just getting a notebook, so I can just have like all my notes or all my scripts just kind of in one giant place. I mean, I don't have to actually like keep these things, but I just like holding on to them for a while. Then I have like little mini scripts that I just write out and put in later. This is a mess. So just having everything in one notebook is probably the way I'm gonna go. Or does it go into the National Archives? Maybe we'll just auction off. Maybe I'll do a charity auction where, who wants episode number 64? Start the bid at $3. Sometimes I look back over these things and be like, what was I talking about here? Because I don't write out what I say, word for word. I don't write out what I say word for word on my notes. I just put like little bullet points, and it's like, oh, I know, I like this little bullet point that's got like 10 words on it. I know I can talk about that for like 3 minutes. But when you look back at it after like a year or so, you're like, where was I going with that? What the heck was that? Hello, everybody that's participating in the Sploot Troops. Private battle. Hey, Kaze-Poo's there. Kaze-Poo. Ugh. Welcome in. Also need to get a... There you are. Howdy, buddy. A little Kaze-Poo. It's good to see you. Do you even know what I look like? I don't know if you've seen the actual... I know what you look like. I remember seeing a picture of you. I need to get like a little note stand thing so that instead of just like looking down at my notes, I can just like look up at my notes and just turn them. If I get that in a notebook, I think we'll do cookies and juice. Thank you for the raid, Reborn. Nah. Welcome in, everybody, from the Reborn thing, and thank you for the follow, Mooper0517. We're just about to start. If you care anything about low ink or low level of competitive Splatoon, you've come to the right place. If not, this is going to be a boring hour for you. Decided to stick around. Hope you had a good stream, Reborn. All we can do is hope. All we can do is hope at this point. Be your first low ink in a hot minute, won't it? I'm going to be talking about watercolor at some point here. Ugh. Ugh. Shut up. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are making illegal roster changes to your low ink roster now that registration has closed, having conversations about your solo queue ranks and help desk, coming out with your own personal tier list and putting Clash Blaster way higher than it deserves to be. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Hey, happy Friday. Happy Friday night. For those of you in North America or also South America. And good morning to those in Europe who are probably dead asleep right now, and probably won't watch this until after Saturday is over to say, oh, where did he put my team? Honestly, I don't think I put any. I don't know how many EU teams we got this time around, but I feel like that number's slowly declining. I think it's more of a rise of NA teams kind of taking over here. But you're here, and that's all that matters. To somebody, I'm sure. It's a kind of a wonky time. I understand that. My schedule with the thing that gives me money has been kind of unpredictable for the past couple of weeks, but that's going to clear up around Memorial Day. And there's going to be a new consistent time for the Popcast on Mondays. It's coming out pretty soon, so we'll have more information about that. For those of you who watch on YouTube, who don't care enough to watch me live anyways, you don't really care. And fair enough, I don't care about you either. The feeling goes both ways, buddy. Today, we are going to preview Low Ink, including my top 10, which you guys like to clown on me for. But You tell me who's going to win this month. I have no idea, and you guys don't either. It's going to be a stacked, top-heavy, loaded low ink. I do have a top 10. I do have a team I feel like is the best of the teams that have signed up. Of all the teams that have signed up, because the registration is closed. And one of the teams in my top 10 was already in help desk saying, we're just going to play one day and then drop. So it's like, all right, we're going to have to pull some stuff out of our butt here to save the top 10. We'll also be talking about a bunch of other teams not in the top 10 that are playing in this low ink that I want to give some recognition and shout outs to just because I feel like doing it. All of that and more today on the low ink preview of the Popcast. But first, as always, if you want to leave a comment in chat that you actually want to pay attention to, you want me to pay attention to and acknowledge, make sure you highlight it. Any highlighted message I will go back and look at after the segment is done and read out loud. Unless it's something stupid, in which case I'll ban you forever. So if you've listened to any recent episode of the Popcast, which I know you have, we've been covering this story that's been going on about the oversaturation of tournaments going on in the scene as a whole. More specifically, a focus on the massive abundance of tournaments going on in the low-level portion of the scene. I've talked about it 2 separate times. JPEG hosted an episode of the podcast on April 1st. He talked about it. It's been something we've been discussing for a while now on the podcast. So what's the developing story? What's new today on Friday, May the 20th, that makes me want to do a little bit of a mini segment on it? Well, let's take a look at one of the biggest days where we have these abundance of low-level tournaments going on. It just so happens to be today. Fridays seems to be the day where the vast majority of these newer-ish low-level tourneys are taking place. More specifically, Friday night, aimed at North America. Once again, Europe. Haha, sucks to suck. 2 tournaments I'm kind of focusing on right here. From the Ink Up FTIU and the USC, the Ultimate Splat Championship Tournament. The Ultimate Splat Championship Tournament's been going on for about 30 events, maybe 31 up to this point. From the Ink Up, I think about 10 or 15 or so. I vaguely look at from the Ink Up, but I did look at it for the sake of this segment. Also, you got Falco's Friday Night Frenzy, 5 night at Falco's. Or is it like 8 weeks at Falco's at this point here? All these kind of events that cater towards low-level teams seem to be going on exclusively on Fridays. USC and From the Ink Up not going on at the same exact Fridays. It seems like they kind of take turns into like a bi-weekly kind of thing. This Friday, you got it. The other Friday, we got it. So how do all those tourneys coexist? Just like that. 2 tournaments being bi-weekly. How do you do that when you have 3 tournaments that kind of target the same target audience of teams? How does that work? How do they coexist? They don't. You can't do that. You can't run 2 tournaments on the same exact Friday, and there's not enough Fridays in a month for there all to be bi-weekly for 3 different teams. So what happened here is that teams have to choose, right? This is something I've been talking about for a while. If you have an abundance amount of tournaments going on, my wife just subscribed. Hey, awesome. If you have an abundant amount of tournaments going on here, you have to, the teams are the ones who get to decide what tournaments kind of stick around and what tournaments don't, right? So the teams get to pick what tournaments they want to play in, and then whatever tournament gets the most teams signed up for it is the one that will run, and the other one is just kind of stuck in the cold and being like, man, what's this other tournament doing that we're not, that's bringing in all this attention? Welcome to the free market of competitive Splatoon, baby. So that's where this new season of Friday Night Frenzy comes into play, season number 4. I'm going to list off the teams, the 8 teams that got announced on Falco's stream on Tuesday that are going to be taking place in this upcoming season. Acropora, Aquatic Vanguard, Crimson Quake, Ink Bashers, INKD, Jelly Squids, the Jelly Squids, Ocean 7, and Shiver Me Inklings, the pirates themselves. That is a murderer's row, a gauntlet of teams signed up for this tournament. This is, all those teams are name brand teams. You know who all of these teams are. If you didn't know who any, those 8 teams I read off, if you didn't know one of them, why are you watching me? And if you're watching me, you obviously don't pay attention to anything I say, because I talk about literally all 8 of those teams consistently on the Popcast. Consistently. Several of them in my top 10 coming up. The Pirates got some people that won the most recent Low Ink. Jelly Squids may be the team most people aren't as familiar with because they don't make alpha bracket as consistently as these other teams do. But the Jelly Squids, a very old team, solid beta bracket team in their own right. You know who all 8 of those teams are. This is not some like you go to the Kroger or something, you get like the Big K soda or Walmart Sam Choice soda. No, this is Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Sprite, Dr. Pepper. You know what these things are. And that is significant because you also know that those 8 teams are the same kind of teams that would sign up for the USC tournament. From the Ink Up, wiping some sweat off their eyebrow. Thank goodness. The teams that played in SS season number 3 are teams that would play in From the Ink Up, and they can't do that because, well, they're stuck in the Friday Night Frenzy kind of thing. So that kind of leads into this question here. What sets FNF apart from USC and From the Ink Up, right? Because we've got 8 teams here that are saying, you know what? I would much rather play in a 8-week weekly event every Friday night in the summer, play all 3 at a time, play all 3 1 round at a time, with maps that are very likely to be competitively unviable. They would much rather play in that than play in one Friday event with just one tournament where they get to play more matches in one day, get it all done with in one night, and have a legit shot of winning that tournament, which teams like Crimson Quake have won USC. Why? As I'm reading that out loud, it makes no sense. Of course, none of these teams would commit to an 8-week thing like Friday Night Frenzy. They'd much rather play in the USC thing, right? Well, what does FNF have that nobody in the scene outside of like Tassel can do? The production value of the stream that Friday Night Frenzy has, it's unmatched. It really is. It is unmatched by anything. There's nothing that comes close to it. There's really not. You look at something like Low Ink, Little Squidly. Yeah, they're great, high quality stuff. But you're talking about commentators that come on with a webcam. They actually show their face. An analyst desk. No commercial breaks. None of that awkward. We'll be back after 20 minutes after we build the bracket. No, the stream goes on and it runs start to finish. And you got people talking with their beautiful faces on. And you go to the analyst desk, usually hosted by Falco or Brush. And it's just an actual production. It's an actual show. It's a league. It's something that you want to be a part of. You know you're going to get a ton of viewers that are going to come out and watch this. Grand finals of last FNF season getting well over 100 viewers live. And that was with teams who, quite frankly, most people probably didn't know. Yeah, there were some teams that were recognizable in season 3 with like Marine Melody and Crab Rave and Cake and teams like that you knew. But you also, like season 1 and season 2, you had a lot of pickup teams or some unrecognizable teams where if you just kind of plop in, crack open a cold one, and just flip on the Falco stream on Friday, you're just like, who's that? Who is this team and who are they playing up against here? I don't recognize any of that stuff. So they're not interested, or they're not worried, or these teams that are playing in this season, they're not worried about that because everyone knows who they are. You're going to be coming into season 4 of Friday Night Frenzy and understand the storylines immediately for all 8 of those teams. And that's what makes a league so interesting, is how do these teams develop over the course of the league, over the course of the season? What are the storylines that develop over the course of the season? And that's something you're really going to get out of these teams that are signed up for that. They recognize that, and they realize that's something they can't get anywhere. They can't get it at Low Inc. They can't get it at USC. They can't get it at SAC. This is the only place they can get that kind of quality content for their teams kind of created. And it comes from a guy who's semi-competitively casual. That is crazy. To think it's not just Falco. Falco's obviously got help, but this is something that most people can't really touch. And those teams kind of recognize that. And that's kind of creating this little bit of a competition going on at these top level of tournaments and stuff like that. Or these top quality level of tournaments that we got here. This is professional level Splatoon at its highest. So now that there's competition going on in mid-level or low-level that's going on here, when we look at mid-level and high-level in comparison, there's not really a lot to go on there, right? Yeah, there are some tournaments going on that cater to both of those groups, but those two groups are kind of stuck in this renaissance phase right now of trying to figure out where they fit into the grand scheme of the pyramid and what those two sections of the community are going to look like going forward. Low level, since it's so competitive, since it's so oversaturated, since it's been so established for over 2 years now, and it's been so healthy up to this point, it's not a renaissance going on at the low level scene. It's an industrial revolution. Everything's getting more optimized. Customers, the low-level teams are the customers, and they are allowed to be a lot more picky than what they used to be. From now, back in the day, it was just like, well, let's play in Low Inc. because that was all we got. And, if we can't play in Low Inc., then I guess maybe we can do BNS or something like that. I don't know. But now low-level teams get to look at a tournament that's popping up, and they get to say, what does your stream look like? What are the other teams that are signing up for this one? Do you have any kind of rules that are given? Like, what are the maps going to be? Who do you got commentating this one? What do you have, like a silver bracket, a bronze bracket? Do you have all these things that would like entice us to come out and play? Like, what do you have? Like, you TOs, you got to sell us, the low-level teams, on why we should play in your tournaments. Mid-level and high-level TOs don't got to do that, right? They'll play. They're so starved for a tournament, they'll play in anything. What do they have to play in? Oh, great. A tournament with Swiss. Yeah, all right. 48% of the turf has to be inked. Brushes only. Your tournament's got a skill floor, so you'll kick out teams that want to play in this, even if they're not quote-unquote good enough. Okay, I'll play in these events because I don't have any other option, but I'll complain about it on Twitter, but I'll still play in it. Like, that's what mid-level and high-level is right now. Low-level teams don't have to do that. If there's a tournament you don't want to play in, you just don't play in it, and you play in the other tournament going on that day. You have so many different options going on here. And Low Inc., everybody kind of needs to look at what's going on here at Friday Night Frenzy. Every TO kind of does need to look at what's going on right now, because Friday Night Frenzy, for better or for worse, did just completely take over that time slot. It basically, now Falco's not like this, but this is essentially what's going on. USC, I'm taking all your teams for 2 months. I'm just taking them. They can't play in your tournament at the same time as mine, and they would much rather play in mine than yours. They're mine now. You can run your event in two months from now. And it's not Falco doing that. It's the teams doing that. The teams are looking at the two options and saying, I want to do that. I would much rather be a part of that. I'll sign me up for that. And it's not just the 8 teams. I'm not going to tell you who all signed up for this one because I don't even know exactly. But it's not just the 8 teams that signed up there. This was a tournament a lot of teams wanted to be involved in over everything else. So if you're a low-level TO, and as a low-ink TO, I'm looking at what we got, and I'm thinking, we can't just be stagnant. We can't just be like, oh, this is how we always did things, and this is how it's always going to be. No, like, what can we do next? What can we do to maybe not reinvent ourselves, but keep ourselves relevant, keep ourselves moving in the right direction? Because we're seeing more competition going on, and competition forces everybody to get better and improve. And if you don't keep up with the times, you're going to get left behind. And what you're going to see is less low-level events going on, but higher quality of low-level events that are going on in their place. Quality over quantity. And eventually mid-level and high-level will get to that point. It's going to take a while, obviously. It's like I said, they don't have enough tournaments to compete against each other. It's just any tournament at this point, any port in the storm. But once mid-level and high-level get to that point to where teams get to actually pick what tournaments they want to play in instead of just what's actually going on, it's going to force everybody to get better. Keep up or you'll get left behind. And if you are a low-level TO who does ultimately get left behind because something takes your spot over it, take out the skill cap in your tournament and just make it open invite, doggone it. You know, there's nothing going on Fridays for like mid-level and high-level. Like, that's an insanely easy day to run a tournament. Nobody does anything there. Just saying. Except for like Triton Cup with Dapple Productions. But that's EU only. I don't know. Just something I kind of noticed as I was looking at Friday Night Frenzy. I'm really excited about this season. Really excited. There's no favorite. There's okay, so top 4 teams make playoffs. Crimson Quake, Ink Bashers, Inked, Ocean 7, Shiver Me Inklings, Aquatic Vanguard. 2 of those teams I listed off are not going to make playoffs. That's crazy. And then you got Acropora that is crazy on the rise, getting a lot better. And you got Jelly Squids. Who knows how much they're going to improve over the course of 8 weeks. This is cutthroat. And it's going to be really fun to watch from the spectator perspective. All right, there's a lot of... I had to mute the desktop audio because I feel like that jingle is getting annoying for you guys, but there was a lot of subscriptions and bits and nonsense going on. Thank you for all the people who did all of that. I try not to get distracted by it because then I'll just get off rhythm and then I'll just start talking about nonsense and lose my place. All FNF4 maps were featured in Ludi 12. Low Ink, May, and Ellis. Yes! Yes! We did it! We did it! We got actual maps in Friday Night Frenzy. We did it, people. They aren't announced yet? Oh. Well, didn't you just announce it? Didn't you just break news there? Also, thanks for the raid, Devil. And Skip. Everybody in. That's enough talking about Falco stuff. And before anybody comes on here, I don't know who the USC TOs are. Before any of them come, oh, you're just doing this segment because you're friends with Falco. Yeah, kind of, but I'm also just witnessing what's going on. I don't have a dog in the fight. I can't play in any of these tournaments. I'm just spectating. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing right now. I'm just calling it like it is. Let's take a look at Low Ink. I don't need this handwritten sheet anymore. We could talk about teams that have signed up this month. In no particular order, this is not my top 10, not honorable mentions or anything like that. These are just teams that have signed up for this low ink that I find they have something that's worth talking about. Oh, she got me crumble cookies. Okay, we didn't get any cookies last week because Laura didn't think those cookies were going to be good. But if we order some crumble cookies, yo, we're on hype with that. They can be the official sponsor of next week's episode of the Popcast. All right, teams in the slow ink. First off, we're going to start off, since we're talking with Falco, we'll start off with that. The bitterling. What is a bitterling? I have no idea. It's got to be a fish of some sort, right? Anytime it's a word I don't know, but it's a Splatoon team, it has to be a fish. It's a fish like every single time. Obviously, Falco kind of headlining this one. I believe this is just Falco and a group of friends. I think I saw Bluey in there as well, one of the producers of Friday Night Frenzy. As part of that. A couple of teams that were on Friday Night Frenzy last season are playing in this low ink as well. Their first low ink in quite a bit of time. First off, you got Crab Rave. Friday Night Frenzy season number 3 team. This is their first low ink since January. And you got Cake. The word cake in brackets. Why is that in brackets? What? I don't understand. Is it like cake? Oh, that would be like quote marks. So it's more like cake, isn't it? That's weird. It's crazy. Speaking of cake or cookies for that matter, I'm kind of at that age where like if I eat something like that, I feel it. Like I had like a couple slices of pizza and it's like, oh, this is affecting me in ways I'm not used to being affected by a couple slices of pizza. Or cake for that matter. First low ink for them since January as well. Why are these teams coming back from January? What did Falco's tournament last from February up till then? Just scared all those teams off. Interesting. Mystical Inc. is a team that is not to be... Okay, so team names here. Mystical Inc. is not to be confused with Mystic Inc. Mystic Inc. was an alpha bracket team last month. Mystical Inc. has not played in low ink in several months here. They finally come back. But don't confuse Mystical for Mystic Inc. Even though those are both really close, they're not the same. And they are a little bit of a different skill level apart from each other. But we're going to have Mystical Inc. back, even though Mystic Inc. is not here. Did you catch all that? A couple of teams I'm kind of interested in seeing play in their first low ink. First off, Watercolor. So this is a Div 4 team, but if you kind of look at their results and you kind of realize some of the Div 4 teams we have let back into low ink, you kind of realize, okay, these guys are probably at a low ink skill level. We feel fine bringing them back in. Now, Stratagem, who is on the books to be commentating this low ink, is the captain for Watercolor, but won't be playing for Watercolor because, well, Jim is banned forever and ever. Low ink July 2020 when the West Broadway Grillers won, which are now known as the Grillers. Jim was one of the predominant players for that team. So Jim is a high ink alum. For that reason, Watercolor has to play low ink without their captain. So how are they going to work without that kind of voice of guidance that they have? Not that they, I'm sure the whole team just falls apart when Jim's not involved. That's not at all what I'm saying. But I'll be interested to see what Watercolor does. I would project beta to alpha range, obviously, but first low ink, you never really know with these things. But they definitely deserve to be in low ink. It's good that they're going to be going up against teams that are around their skill level. Oh, also a little note here. Stratagem was the first guest I ever had on the podcast. First guest I ever had on the podcast. Episode number 2, when the West Broadway Grillers won, brought in Jim and Sam and talked about winning low ink back then. A little trivia bit there. 115 episodes ago. The other team I'm kind of interested in is Matcha. This is their first low ink for a team full of low ink veteran players, including Spicy, who I believe goes by Batty now. And I think Wolf is one of the other players. I know my wife subs for this team, but I don't think my wife is playing with Matcha in this low ink, unless I'm wrong. My wife did just subscribe to me. Maybe we could ask her later. But I don't really know. Again, this is another team is like, okay, I've seen Matcha play in SOS with Texture, who is also permabanned from low ink. But how are they going to do in low ink against other low ink teams? They could fall anywhere. I would assume beta and above is the projection for these teams. But when you start saying, oh, that team's going to make beta and that team's going to make beta, you're starting to run out of slots that you can put teams in. Only a certain number of teams can make alpha and beta. Same thing with Ludi divs, which is why when you say I'm div this, it's like, okay, cool. You're going to move up to div 3. That means you're taking a place of somebody. What team is moving down to div 4 while you move up to div 3? It makes no sense. But Matcha, I think, is a beta and above. But with your first link, you can never really tell. Teams I'm just excited to see in general. I like the Boston Squid Party. I like the Boston Squid Party. I don't think I can say that I love them. Maybe it's an infatuation, but love is a really strong word. But I like the Boston Squid Party. They got a really cute logo. They got some pretty crazy good players. You got Caleb with Tetras. You like seeing Tetra players. Tetra players have a long history of being successful in low ink. Losers round 2 in beta the last time that Boston Squid Party played, which was last month. Will they make beta again? We'll find out. Full Moon Shizun. There's no way I pronounced that correctly. Full Moon. This is a team I'll personally want to keep an eye on. You got Parias and Salem, the Little Squidly crew. Probably going through this event this weekend thinking, man, we're going to be running a 2-day tournament next weekend. And it's going to be awesome. And Popgun's going to talk about it. I'm really excited to look into that Little Squid League tournament. But for now, we want to see what Full Moon can do. I believe they made Gamma last time. Harder to get into Gamma than usual because only 8 teams got in. Hopefully you idiots don't drop this time around. We have enough teams to have a full Gamma. Speaking of Gamma bracket, you got Natural Moonlight in here, the team that won Gamma bracket. Okay, so we got Full Moon, we got Arctic Moon, we got Red Sun, we got Blue Moon, we got Starburst, and now we got Natural Moonlight. We had Heaven's Moonlight. Can someone tell me the difference between Heaven's Moonlight and Natural Moonlight? What? Isn't like every light from the moon natural? What is there in natural moonlight? I don't know. What is it your guys' obsession with fish, the ocean, and astrology or astronomy? You guys really love some moon here. And Natural Moonlight has won Gamma bracket. That's all I can really say about them. Neon Tempest. This is a team that set the record. This is a new record Neon Tempest has set for the most questions asked in help desk leading up to a tournament. That is, that's a good thing. All right. That's not making fun of them. Just pointed it out. They are very curious about things going on in low ink and want to make sure this is going to go smoothly because I believe this is their first tournament. I remember my first tournament was a BNS. No, my first tournament I played in was It's Dangerous to Go Alone, but my first tournament with a team was BNS, and I DM'd the captain we were playing up against and on Discord, and they were like, dude, just talk to me on Battlefy. And I was like, what's Battlefy? So, hey, everybody has their first tournament at some point. Neon Tempest, welcome in. Prism Secant Lappy 57747. Is that an area code? What kind of IGN is 57747? Prism, usually a beta-ish team. I believe Clang of Destiny Troops has been playing with these guys, but Clang obviously hecka banned from low ink and forever will be. So just another one of these teams that is like they have low ink eligible players, but they tend to play in SOS with somebody who's banned from it. How are they going to fare without that player that they can't use in this tournament? So we'll keep an eye on Prism. Like to see them though. NSIP. I believe I forgot what this name stands for, so I looked it up. Name still in progress, I believe is what that reads out to be. So how long is their names going to still be in progress is what I want to know before they come up with something else. There's also that team name, guys, please, that won an LSL many natural moonlights ago. But making a name that makes no sense to anybody and saying that you're going to change it later seems to be a popular thing to do with low-level teams. Surf and Turf made their first alpha bracket last month. Can they do it again? We have not talked about Surf and Turf for a while, but they are one of the oldest, if not the oldest team in Low Inc. every single month that they sign up in for it. I wouldn't say they've made alpha bracket before, but it's been a long stretch before they finally made it back into alpha bracket last month. If they could do it 2 months in a row, that would be really impressive. The Joy-Con Drifters. You know what I keep forgetting? And I'm kind of glad I keep forgetting this. There is a North American Open tournament going on this weekend, isn't there? Tomorrow, Nintendo is hosting a tournament. We have a team here in the Joy-Con Drifters who has only played in North American Open tournaments up to this point. I believe they played in 3 of them. However, instead of playing in another Turf War tournament hosted by Nintendo, they've decided to play in their first ever Low Inc. instead. How about that? We took one of your teams, Nintendo. One of them said, nah, we've had enough of that. What's this Low Inc. thing? They actually have a stream? I mean, we're not giving out carrying cases as a prize, so I guess, Nintendo has that over us. But, hey, we took one of your teams, Mr. Steal Your Team. The last team I want to talk about here, the Hotel Popgun. What? What is that? Is that like a playoff of Hotel Mario? So it's basically Inkception, who went by, what did they go by last month? It was like sleep depression or something like that. I forget what their name was last month, but it's Inkception. They made Gamma Bracket last time they played. Now, I've been on the record several times. If you guys use my name, you need to be good. The JPEG team made Alpha Bracket, but every time I've had like 3 Popgun named teams, they always do beta or worse. So Hotel Popgun, you better make Alpha Bracket, and I don't think you guys have made Alpha Brackets before, so this better be the month you make Alpha Bracket, because I'm tired of JPEG having the better pickup teams than me. This is your warning. I've been on the record, I've said like only top 10 teams can use my name. Inkception, you can use it, but you better be good, or else. I think that's everybody that I wanted to talk about. The good thing about doing these podcasts later on Fridays is that the registration actually closes, and I don't have to like awkwardly look back at some teams that I missed here. We ultimately have 71 teams, even though a couple have reached out and said, hey, we might drop, or hey, we can only play a couple of rounds here or there. The Territorial Water Otters, we had them on stream last time. Good to see them back in the Low Inc. Inkstrike Krakens, I believe that is from the Ink Up regular team. Midnight Sun, another one of those astrology teams. What is a Midnight Sun? That makes no sense, unless I'm completely missing some things. Eternal Frost, not sure how good those guys are going to do. They could be another one of those alpha to wherever, like strong-ish player. It looked like, from what I could tell, they were just strong players in solo queue and league, but like how well does it actually transition? Is this going to be like a Kodomo kind of month for them? Not sure. Sandstorm Tsunami. Self-Portrait, no idea who those guys are. Summerside is back. Shipshape is back. Marine Melody, another FNF Season 3 team. Excuse me. Coming up here. What's this pickup team name? Did they switch their names? Pick Me Up Before You Go Go. I don't remember them calling themselves that before, but they must have changed their name before then. Galaxy Squids, as if we needed another space-themed team. You guys really love yourselves some space, my goodness. Intimidation Factor. I know they got a little bit of a roster change. See how they do here. Rolling Squids, FNF3 team as well. I believe that's all I want to talk about in this section. 5 Cheese Toast. That's all I got to say about them. They are a thing. Is that it? That's it. Other than Walk Nation, who just sent me some information about themselves. Hey, I'll say, most of you signed up pretty early. We didn't have that crazy surge of teams that signed up on Friday because you guys signed up an actual decent amount of time ahead of time this time around. Highlighted messages. Laura bought you cookies. Heck yeah. Bitterling is a fish. Fair enough. Jimothy says she got crumbled cookies. Yes, but they change their menu every week, so I'm not sure. I usually get like a chocolate chip and something else, but my wife knows what kind of cookies I like. Reborn from Watercolor. We're trying to make our dear Jim proud. Okay, well, don't let him down. That's all I got to say. My guy RDB says, what are we talking about? If you look at the arrow, it says low ink teams. That's what we were talking about. Glad that we could clear that up there. And now, it might be Iride or Irida. It might be. I forget what they called themselves. Yes, they changed their name. Their name was something else. I think it was like Low something. But that wasn't their pickup name earlier, but so be it. But that's enough. That's enough talking about the teams that signed up for this. Panda Propaganda Top 10. Are you saying that for real? Are you saying that for real, or is there just something I'm missing here? Teams not in my top 10 because they're not signed up for the tournament at all. That makes things kind of interesting. First off, the Yume Stars. The Yummy Stars. This they are not here. They are not signed up. They are not playing this month. Talked to Lumina. Apparently one of their players has like a work obligation or something, so they're just not going to be here this month. A lot of teams in the top 10 are probably going, whew, thank you. Thank you, Yummy Stars, for not being here. Because as I was looking over the team, like matchups, my team and my teams in the top 10 have played. You look at like Yummy Stars' record against all of them, and the Yummy Stars is a thorn in the side for pretty much every single one of these teams. So them not being here is kind of a good thing for all of those teams because they're really strong. They're a top 5 team going forward. Essence is not here. Essence is the team that won Minnow Cup, the most recent Minnow Cup. They have not signed up here. Now, I believe there are Essence players kind of sprinkled throughout this tournament here, like a few players on this team, a few players on that team, or a pickup or something like that. But the actual Essence team is not playing in this low ink. I wanted to see that. I was like, you won Minnow Cup. You guys were like a beta bracket team last time. I want to see how much you guys have improved since then. But we'll have to wait one more month or maybe longer, maybe forever before we see that. GG, wasn't it? This was the team that went 6-0 last month that did not win low ink. They were the number 1 seed last month. They are not here. And as far as I can tell, I don't think any of them are signed up. They might be like one player or two on a team somewhere along the lines. Usually when a team drops, you'll like, as you're just verifying other teams, you'll look through and be like, oh, there's one player there and there's another player there. So like just because the team dropped doesn't mean those players don't play. But it's always awkward when that team wins and then that player gets banned from low ink and the rest of the team is like, oh wait, I want to play, but now we can't play without one of our best players. That kind of sucks. So those are the 3 teams that are notable that are not here. Before we get into the honorable mention section though, there's something interesting I've kind of noticed. I noticed it last month in low ink, and I definitely, it was impossible to ignore in Minnow Cup, is how many Charger / E-leaders / straight up anchor players we have in low level all of a sudden. What is going on there? I don't understand. The grand finals of Minnow Cup was a Charger versus Charger matchup. That is caveman technology. You never see that. You don't see it in mid or high level. Are there Charger players? Yeah. Jackpot has .Q, an insane Charger player. There's not many others. You usually know all the Charger players by name, right? Like Bandit, Mr. Z, but like all of, and those aren't the only two. Those are just the first two that come to my mind. But you don't really see that, and the reason for that is that Charger is really easy to counter in this meta. Not to the point to where like you have to come off a Charger. If you're good enough at a weapon, you can overcome the weaknesses of it. Same thing with Hydra. People fire double missiles at me all the time, and it doesn't work. And then they're just like, well, what do you do? Just triple missile? And it's like, all right, fine. So be it. And it's not to say missiles doesn't mess up with Hydra. It's just you put so much time into it, and you get fired double missile over the course of 2 years. You eventually figure out how to work around it. And if you're a really good Charger player, you can work around the weaknesses that are going on in that. I'm just saying, the team that won Low Ink last month, Molly Whoppers, whenever they played a Charger team, what do? Double armor, double missile, and we're using Rapid Blaster 2. Rapid Blaster Pro is one of our armors. So we're going to match your range. We're going to make sure that you're constantly running for your rifle and throw off your rev rhythm. And, everybody's going to be armored the entire time, so you have to land 2 shots that kill us instead of 1. They just demolished. Every Charger team they played up against, they demolished until Delicious Nuggets benched their Charger player. So now that Molly Whoppers is gone, I'm just kind of pointing out, this will be a theme you see in the course of my top 10. It's who are the Charger players and who can adapt when their Charger player is under attack, under duress constantly. How are they going to keep that player safe? Because the team that can attack, that can just exploit the weaknesses of a Charger the most, might be the team that goes off to win this whole tournament like Molly Whoppers did last month. Honorable mentions, team that are on this list. I'm throwing Panda Propaganda on here just because Corona Beer has me worried about that. I did not originally have Panda Propaganda even listed anywhere on this sheet because I didn't look too much into them. But now that Corona's listed them, I'm putting them in the honorable mention just to be safe. I talked about you. There you go, Panda Propaganda. But you can't be right 2 months in a row. There's no way that can happen. Sandstorm Tsunami. These guys made Alpha Bracket last month. They need to make Alpha Bracket again this month. Need to make some noise in Alpha Brackets. But they deserve an honorable mention just off what they did last month. Myopsidus, honorable mention here. Roster changeover, I think. Alpha Bracket last month. Which was like, they've been struggling to get back in the Alpha Bracket, and when they do, they haven't been as dominant as they were in the past. And I think there is some sort of roster changeover with these guys here. They're in help desk being like, this guy's the captain now. I'm the captain now. Can you get the captain role to that guy? Because that other guy left. I didn't know what was going on with that. So they're an Alpha Bracket team in honorable mention for now. I'll see what they do on Sunday. The INKD Killers, the Inked Killers. I'm assuming this is a combination of Inked and the Squid Killers. The Squid Killers dropped, so INKD picked up a few players. This got some Legato United vibes going on here, and I feel like I should put this team in the top 10, but I don't trust what INKD has done recently, and I think the Squid Killers keep dropping, if I recall correctly as well, so not totally confident putting them in there. The team that I originally had, I'll be fair, I'll spoil some things right now. The team I originally had at number 4 now drops all the way down to the official number 11 spot here. Crimson Quake. Why did they drop from number 4 all the way down to number 11? Because, they put in help desk that they can only play on day 1. It was like, well, can't you just get a sub for day 2? But okay, so they're on there because they deserve to be on there, but I think they're like semi-dropped already, so be it. Now, the long-awaited official Low Ink Top 10. Let's get into it. Number 10. Let the record show that the first team to publicly say that they're going to win this month's Low Ink was Pain Bashers. And let me explain on the record how they can possibly pull that off. In this Charger/Anchor heavy world that Low Level is in right now, the best way to beat that is by doing what the Pain Bashers do best. Throw specials down your throat and cause you a lot of pain with that. They dropped before the tournament started last month and played in SOS back in April, but they were in Alpha Bracket the last time that they played in Low Ink, which was all the way back in February, so they don't really have a lot of recent results that you would like to see from a team in the top 10. And as I put them in the top 10, initially had them higher, then I was like, well, they don't deserve to be above these other teams that are doing things a lot more recently than them. But I'm just saying, based off of the comps that we're going to see this month, I feel like this is a good month for the Ink Bashers to bash some people here. Or I'm sorry, the Pain Bashers is what they go by here. Again, I don't know what constitutes a month that they decide to go by Ink Bashers and a month that they decide to go by Pain Bashers. It's just how they feel that day. Obviously kind of painful this month. Number 9. It's good to see our old pals Blue Moon back in action this month. After making Alpha Bracket in March and participating in the Minnow Cup in April, we haven't really seen much of them since then, but it doesn't matter. These guys are top 10 material, no cap, even though I'm wearing one. I feel like they play bi-monthly in Low Ink now, and each time they return after taking a month off, they seem much improved. Port, in particular, on Tri-Slosher looks like the real deal, especially when they almost sent the Squirrels to losers bracket early on Sunday in March. That Squirrel team that finished second place that month overall almost got knocked out in round 1 by Blue Moon because Port was just ripping them apart with that Tri-Slosher. Always a pleasure when the team not named after my favorite generic beer graces us with their presence. Corona beer, whose name is not going to show up to anybody looking at the chat from on the YouTube section, is not a fan of Blue Moon, apparently. Rip. Number 8. Acropora didn't do that bad last month, did they? A serviceable 4-2 Swiss record and a couple of wins in the losers bracket, and what I believe has been their best result to date. So they are trending in the right direction. The one thing that really lacked last month though was a signature win. They didn't really beat anyone that they shouldn't had beaten. More so, they kept other teams from leapfrogging in front of them. Revamp, Mystic Inc., Blob Obler, Bemethetry, all fell to Acropora, and all were teams last month who made Alpha Bracket probably a little bit ahead of schedule for them. And give credit to Acropora that they didn't let those teams get ahead of them. So they're keeping their spot in line. They're not letting anybody jump up ahead of them. The problem is, especially with several other teams ahead of them in my top 10 being here in F and F, how are they going to compare against the teams that they can't get past yet? Are they going to start leapfrogging other teams instead of just holding their spot in line? It'd be nice to see them get a statement win this time around on it and give you kind of an idea of what caliber of team they're going to be in F and F this upcoming season and going through that season into the month of June. Also, they have Skep on their roster. A little last minute addition that I saw earlier today. Number 7. Oddly enough, I've never talked about freelancing takoyaki when they were actually making alpha brackets. But now they're coming off a beta bracket win. I can put them in my top 10 now. How does that work? Oh, you failed a beta. Now I can see you as a top 10 team. Well, the reason for that, they've always had a good Saturday result, but they've proven, or they haven't really proven that they can show up and show out on Sunday yet. And winning beta bracket traditionally does a lot for you going into the following month. See Delicious Nuggets, who won beta bracket and then go on to finish in second place the month afterwards. Also, keep in mind they had to play Pajamas, the team I had at number 1 last month, since they finished second in alpha bracket the month prior. That's the team they had to beat twice. They had to beat that team twice to win beta bracket. So it's not like they had a cakewalk beta. Nobody ever does. There's always strong teams that fall down the beta and play it out all the way through. But being able to show themselves that they can be successful on Sunday does pay dividends when you get into alpha bracket next month. Freelancing Takoyaki. Welcome to the Low Ink Top 10. Number 6. Why do these guys always find their way on the top 10 list somehow? Sigs Gig, a.k.a. Ink Sync, a.k.a. Little Timmy and the Splats, whatever you want to call them, will be in alpha bracket yet again. And will threaten to make the podium yet again. When they were Sigs Gig in December, they made alpha bracket. When they were Ink Sync in January, they were finishing in 4th place overall. And when they were Little Timmy and the Splats, they were finishing in 7th place, beating the likes of Crimson Quake and Legato in February. Now, these are not all the same players that participate on each one of those 3 team names that I read off, this time around being Sigs Gig. But the point is, whenever combination of players this group puts together typically does really well in low ink. The main X factor here is K, a really strong Dapples player, making their first low ink appearance. Also playing with Sigs Gig, formerly of Ink Sync. This team is going to do really well, as these 5 or 6 players always do whenever they play in low ink. Even though Sigurd, the player who is this team is named after, is banned from low ink. So Sigs Gig. You're at number 6 right there. Number 5. I'm trying to think of a good word to describe Aquatic Vanguard. And the best word I could come up with is wonky. The definition of wonky, according to Google, is a little off-centered, askew. And that kind of describes Aquatic Vanguard's result as of late. 1 month ago, they're winning Gamma Bracket. The next month, they're taking 3rd overall in the entire low ink. Then in Minnow Cup, they're falling way, way short of Top Cut. I don't know where you place these guys. I mean, you can't put them at number 3 just because they're not been consistent enough. But I have to put them on here somewhere in the top 5. They finished 3rd last month. Revamp the Yummy Stars twice, My Lag Paradise, and took Delicious Nuggets to a Game 5 twice in the same month. That is not a fluke result. You can't accidentally do all of those things. And in this Charger-heavy tournament that we are in, they have the ability to flex. So what happens when you run up against that team that does do double armor, double missile? Well, you got Twig, the Shohei Ohtani of low level, who arguably is just as good as Brush as they are as Charger. So if they feel the need to go anchorless, they don't even have to change their roster at all. They don't have to sub out a player like the Delicious Nuggets did. No, they can just keep the 4 players they got and just make one little adjustment. But come on, Aquatic Vanguard, pick a lane. You're either be the monster that you're supposed to be, or don't. But if you're going to be a monster, then be a monster. No more of this 2, 3, or Gamma Bracket nonsense. Make a statement this month, Aquatic Vanguard. Number 4. cross out Crimson Quake, who I had right here. And instead of all this fancy paragraph I had typed up about them, let's put in a new team instead, who I am very comfortable putting in at the number 4 spot now that I figured out who they were, looking a little bit deeper into them. So now, the annual or the monthly award that goes to the team name that all you guys are going to say, who? Who's that? This month, the number 4 team is Good Night. Yes, Good Night, the team you all know and love and care about. Well, who's Good Night? It's Pajamas. It's all the same players from Pajamas. Now, I thought Pajamas was originally that Squirrel team reincarnated, and it wasn't. It's just not the same kind of players. Maybe there was one player crossover. But now this Pajama team is essentially the same as this Good Night team. The team, mind you, that almost got into Alpha Bracket had to play in that underground play-in bracket against not the Squirrels, Delicious Nuggets, lost to them in a close Mako Mart best-of-1 set, and then went on to finish second place in Beta Bracket. So I feel very confident putting Good Night at number 4, even though it's another pickup or another reimagining of this one team, because those players, whatever they call themselves, do really well in low ink every time they play in it. They just got to do a little bit better on Saturday so they don't have to get into any kind of jank play-in bracket that we come up with. So number 4, Good Night. Number 3. Ocean 7 looked like they were setting themselves up for a solid run through Alpha Bracket last month when they 3-0'd Crimson Quake on stream in winners quarterfinals. And at the time, it seemed like a statement win, which it still is, but followed up by getting mollywopped into losers and then swept out by the Yume Stars. Still another step in the right direction for Ocean 7, but when you're at the level that they are at, those steps forward become more and more difficult to accomplish. Take, for example, their recent Minnow Cup result. Close sets, taking Essence to game 3 and Squid Killers to game 5, but just not enough to close out those sets to take that next step into getting a medal in a tournament like Minnow Cup. But with a thinner field, no Yummy Stars this time around to knock them out of losers bracket, someone has to take a step up, and I like Ocean 7 to do it this month. The question is, because they are another one of these anchor teams, do they have a plan B when the double armor, double missile nonsense starts rearing its ugly head? It's a question Ocean 7 has to figure out. Number 2. What's the best thing I could say about My Lag Paradise? They're consistent, at least in low ink. Yes, I know they had the drop from the last Minnow Cup after taking a couple of L's. But as far as low ink is concerned, it's been nothing but success. Beta Bracket champs in January, 3 straight trips to Alpha Bracket, including a 4th place finish in February and a 5th place finish last month. That is both a good and a bad place to be in. Good because it proves that you're a strong enough team month after month after month to be consistent on Saturday and Sunday, which is something not many teams, if any teams on my top 10 list can say at this point. Bad because you are now the team that everyone aims at. Every time My Lag Paradise plays a team, they're getting that team's best effort. That's tough to deal with, but they have shown that they're more than capable of dealing with that kind of pressure up to this point. Just remember, for this month at least, it's not it's My Lag Paradise. I wonder who number 1 could be. The number 1 team on my top 10 list and the team I'm predicting to win this upcoming low ink. I hate putting runner-up teams here. I really do. But I can't in good conscience put anyone above the Delicious Nuggets this month. They have all the unusual factors against them. Team that flew under the radar last month now has to deal with pressure and expectations and a target. They've never done better than 4-2 on Saturday and had to win a play-in game to even qualify for Alpha Bracket last month and failed to make Alpha 2 months ago when they won Beta. However, they have something that most of these teams don't. Roster depth. They can beat you with many different comps and can flex off of anchor when they run into an opponent that shuts them down. Nobody is better or more equipped to adjust on the fly in the middle of a set than the Delicious Nuggets. We all know that the second place team never really does well the next month unless you're from Australia. We get that. Nobody here really deserves to be above them, though. I wouldn't be surprised if they tripped up and didn't even make Alpha Bracket or got knocked out really early on Saturday or Sunday or something like that, because that's typically what we see of teams of this caliber. But there's realistically no other team you can say is the favorite heading into this one than the Delicious Nuggets. So there you go. A top 10 that we had to adjust on the fly, but we did it. Now, if you did not like what I said about your team, if I didn't say anything about your team, if you're Panda propaganda and you go out and win the whole tournament, here's what you get. Here's the beauty of this. You get to prove me wrong. This upcoming weekend, you can just prove everything I said. My top 10 order, prove it wrong. You know I start off every episode of the Monday after Low Ink issuing an apology if an apology is warranted, and it's been warranted the last couple of times. But if you'd like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, feel free to reach out to me with my socials below. Twitter, Mr._Popgun, Discord, Popgun, hashtag 5882, YouTube at Popgun25, at 25 Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, anchor.fm/Popgun. Let's go raid SS Nolan, who kicked my butt in solo queue yesterday. Get vaccinated, wear a mask, stay safe, enjoy this weekend, have a good time, and we will see you on Monday. And I'll see you tomorrow for the Low Ink pre-show in the IPL Discord. That starts at 12, I believe, is when we do that. It's kind of the secret. We don't really publicize it. Make sure you stick around for that. We'll see you then.